And we know that these are the people, for example, that in 1945, December, after the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, remember the Nazis in Germany had surrendered in May of 1945, but the Japanese had not. And so the Japanese knew that the entire Allied forces were going to turn their attention to Japan, right? And so they started removing all the gold and silver and platinum and jewels and stuff that had been garnered over a 30-year period by the Japanese Empire, had been sweeping all through South Asia, in taking all the gold and silver and platinum and everything and bringing it into Japan as their war chest for the major imperial war that the Japan was getting ready to mount, okay? And they had all of those riches that were there, so what they did is they smuggled them out and they moved them into the Philippines, and they buried them in 176 separate tranches in the Philippines, like 700 feet deep. The huge mine shafts that they built, and they did it with slave labor, and the people who dug the mine shafts, and they buried 100.
The Japanese were doing this.
$100 billion each. Each trove, 176 troves of $100 billion each in gold. The photographs that you can see, they're shoulder-high stacks of gold bullion as big as football fields. You can see them, and they buried them under in the Philippines, right? And the G2 for the United States Army in Manila was Edward Lansdale had been an OSS guy, and Truman disbanded the OSS as soon as the Nazis surrendered in May of 1945. So he distributed everybody from the OSS out around the world, right? And Ed Lansdale ended up being the G2 in Manila, and he knew that the guy who was in charge of gathering all of that gold and silver together was a guy named General Yakushima. General Yakushima was the guy who ran a thing called the Golden Lily, was the Chinese code name for the unit that was into pilfering all the gold and silver and platinum all through Asia and bringing it into Japan. And he supervised the burying of these 176 troves in the Philippines. And what happened is Ed Lansdale, when General Yakushima turned himself in and surrendered, after the Japanese surrendered, he kidnapped the driver for Yakushima and had him tortured to find out where some of these treasures were. And they actually found 12 of these out of the 176, $1.2 trillion at $32 an ounce of gold, which is now like $1,400 an ounce, right? And what they did is they punched one of those, and he, there they are. That this is people don't understand it. General Yamashita is the guy that stored all this gold there. And Ed Lansdale got his hands on 12 of these troves for $1.2 trillion. He had General MacArthur set up a private trust under Truman that was run by Brown Brothers Harriman for $1.2 trillion.
They just took all of
it. They took the 12 of them, the $1.2 trillion,
right,
and they shipped it all out, and they put it in the International Credit Bank in Geneva, Switzerland, and issued gold certificates on it to pay for covert operations. Completely independent from Congress. Never told Congress about it at all. To this day, have never told Congress about it. And they've been using it as covert operations.
They still got some?
They've got all of it still.
They haven't run through.
No, because what they've did is they issued gold certificates. They didn't have to do anything with the gold. They left it there. What they did is they issued gold certificates. They're just like bearer bonds, and they use them for cash. And it's a major source of funds for the covert operations.
Wow.